Sharita, I am ready to give you your verse. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Sharita, please recite John 3:25-31.
John 3:25-31. Now a discussion arose between some of John's disciples and a Jew over purification. And they came to John and said to him, Rabbi, he who was with you across the Jordan, to whom you bore witness, look, he is baptizing, and all are going to him. John answered, A person cannot receive even one thing unless it is given him from heaven. You yourselves bear me witness that I said, I am not the Christ, but I have been sent before him. The one who has the bride is the bridegroom. The friend of the bridegroom, who stands and hears him, rejoices greatly at the bridegroom's voice. Therefore, this joy of mine is now complete. He must increase, but I must decrease. He who comes from above is above all. He who is of the earth belongs to the earth and speaks in an earthly way. He who comes from heaven is above all. John 3:25-31.
Sharita, that passage is awesome. What do you think it's talking about?
I think it's talking about how John is saying that Jesus is greater than I am, and I was the one who's preparing the way for him.
You're exactly right. And you know, John the Baptist, we really kind of take it for granted what type of man he was. I've said earlier that John the Baptist's ministry lasted probably about a year. And so God had prepared him for this. And now we've got John with his disciples, and Jesus comes along about 6 months later, and now he's got disciples, and both of these sets of disciples are starting to dispute with each other.
Right.
And John's disciples are like, hey, wait a second, there's somebody else here, and he's got disciples too, and some of our guys are actually leaving, going over there. They're like, John, what are we going to do about this? You know, like today, this would be, there's a big church over here and a big church over here, and people are leaving, and all these the congregation is getting in arguments with each other, like, you're going to that church and you're going to this church, and John's like, relax. He must increase, I must decrease. And the next thing we know, John ends up in prison, all alone, and he dies about 6 months later. That was John the Baptist.
And you know, I love John's contentedness in that, Ashrita. He knew his place, and he found pleasure in that. He found pleasure in magnifying the Lord. And in a world where everybody is striving, you know, trying to be with the coolest people, trying to have the greatest things, when you know the Lord and you know you have him, you know that Jesus plus yourself equals everything, right? You've got him in your life. And it doesn't matter, you know, people are getting connected with all the great friends. You've got the greatest friend imaginable. People are talking about how much wealth they have. You have a Father who's blessed you with every spiritual blessing in the heavenly places. Your Father owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. You know, it doesn't matter anymore because you have the greatest in the Lord, and knowing that contents you, you know?
You know, Ashrita, John took pleasure in decreasing